Tits, Wit, and Grit is a podcast created to hold honest, intelligent conversations with women who lead, build, and navigate demanding professional lives. This podcast was born from a belief that women benefit from spaces where experience is honored, perspective is shared openly, and leadership can be discussed in both depth and candor, and maybe even a little laughter. Each episode brings forth voices that will offer insight drawn from their experience, and we will all speak honestly about leadership, resilience, ambition, and personal evolution. So let's get started. Tits, Wit, and Grit. Today, we have one of our very famous, very favorite women on the podcast joining us for a great conversation. And I'm going to let Tracy introduce her.
All right. Today, we are so excited to welcome Amber to Tits, Wit, and Grit. Amber is a strategic leader with more than a decade of experience helping organizations navigate growth, change, and transformation. Throughout her career, she's guided Fortune 500 companies through major mergers, acquisitions, and growth strategies that have reshaped industries. Today, Amber is part of our Point Northeast team, where she helps leaders and organizations unlock their full potential through talent selection, strategic insights, leadership development, Hogan assessments, and art-based leadership workshops. She believes that when you align strategy with exceptional people and add a little creativity, you create the kind of leadership that drives lasting results. And before joining Point Northeast, Amber held executive strategy roles with the Hershey Company and Acosta Sales and Marketing. And she partnered extensively with Boston Consulting Group, leading initiatives across consumer products, retail, and growth strategies. She also holds an MBA from Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management and a bachelor's degree in marketing and international business from Washington University in St. Louis. Today, we're talking with Amber about leadership, growth, self-awareness, and what it really takes to build strong teams and organizations. We know you're going to walk away with plenty of practical insights and maybe even a few new ways of thinking. So grab your coffee, take a walk, but settle in wherever you're listening because this conversation is packed with insight, practical wisdom, and plenty of laughs along the way. Amber, we're so excited you're here. Welcome to Tits, Wit, and Grit, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome, Amber. And for our listeners and anybody that's seeing us, we are right after the holiday weekend. So if all of our voices are a little lower, including mine, it just means that we've celebrated our country. So, hey, I know you all can relate. So as part of that celebration and all that, I found myself as a woman in this country pretty excited for how far we've come. We might have done a little trivia on this, but I'm also a little sad for how far we have yet to go. And I know we'll talk about that, but Amber, I'm going to stick to the good stuff. What's your favorite part as we talk about kind of the tits of our show? What's your favorite part about being a woman? And since I know you have strong women in your life, if you want to talk about one or two of them that have helped shape you.
Yeah. So I think one of the best things about being a woman that I felt is just complete comfort in my identity of feeling like that I am a very creative person. So I've never felt like I have to quash any bit of creativity. But then I also was raised by really strong and smart, intelligent women. And so I feel like those pieces of myself that I feel like I really get to lean into, whether it's being creative, whether it's being really, I feel like very smart and, bringing those ideas to the forefront and being strong and independent, that never crossed my mind that was separate from the identity of being a woman. And I give a lot of credit to my mom and my grandmothers for that was the role model that I had for being a woman. And so I felt like those were just the core elements of my identity. And also in that, I never felt like I needed to mimic a man or be masculine in when I went into work, because I saw these women in my life be completely strong, independent, smart, established women being women, and that I didn't
Mm.
need to try to be something different in order to still have those characteristics.
What an amazing
That's,
gift.
oh,
I mean, what
so special.
a foundation.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic. Love it.
A rock solid foundation. And yes, I love my mom and my grandmothers. They've all been my role models.
Oh.
Gosh. I mean, that's pretty special. And I think about, maybe, um, your parents had a pretty foundational, you're very close to them. I know that personally. Actually, one of the connections we forgot to talk about is that Laura and I have worked with you,
Yes.
decades ago at General Mills. So kind of fun.
Was it really
Okay.
decade? Do we have to say
I mean,
decade?
I don't know. I guess maybe like 2 months ago. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
a bit
it
ago.
does.
A
A
few
bit ago.
leap years.
It
Doesn't
does
seem
feel like
seemed
time has passed.
like in some senses it seems like it was just yesterday, and in some it seems
Yeah.
like it was a total different life ago. Um, I mean, by the way, Amber, I think, I probably speak for Laura and I both, but we're so proud of you. I mean, you came right out of undergrad and worked with us, and we got to watch you blossom as a leader and as um, a young woman in corporate America. And then you just went off and were just a badass. So we're just so proud of you. And what a joy to bring you back, into the fold and to get to work together again. It's like, look out, world. We added Tracy to the pot and a couple other badass women. I mean, like, look out, world, right? It'd be great.
I think along those lines, I've been I feel blessed because I've seen it go in lots of different ways for different people. That I, throughout my career, had rock solid women that I got to work for and work with. And that is a hallmark, I feel like, of so many stages of my career. And it's been not something you can necessarily construct in all sorts of ways, but when you get the chance to choose who you work with and surround yourself with, it makes a difference. And I have had men that have been great mentors and structure, but I would say when I've talked to some people who haven't ever had a female boss or worked on teams, I'm like, I can count many, many times where I've been in rooms with a whole room full of women and we're supporting each other. Um, and so that's been something throughout my career that I have not felt like an only very often. But I think that that's because I've chosen places to work and people and companies to align myself with where that wasn't a choice that I had to make.
And
That's
Amber, I just
great.
want to we talk about it on several podcasts we've had of the fact of women supporting women.
Yeah.
That sometimes there's this competitive nature that we all have. And when there's only one seat available, you're competing against other women. But to hear you say that women who support other women and lift people up and their growth. So I think, we always need to be doing that more and more and more because I don't think we do it enough. But I'm
Yep.
glad to hear in your career you've had it.
Yes, I've had it I've sought it out. And I think about even when I worked at Boston Consulting Group, where there were only less than 10% of female partners. And it would be very easy that I could have been an only woman on teams several times. And that was just for me rarely the case, because I sought out even men who saw the value in having balanced teams and having groups of mixed gendered teams that you got better ideas out of the group. And I felt like that too. And so I sought out those teams, and those are still some of the people that I work with, have talked with to this day. The men and the women were the ones that were in those mixed gendered teams. And I felt like those teams did better work.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really cool. Neat that you got to see different combinations too. I mean, in a consulting environment, you've got different clients, different projects, different teams, and you get a better understanding rather than just having one team for a big chunk of your career.
Mm.
So Laura asked a little bit about, the female component. What about the wit part? I again, knowing you so well, your smile is so infectious, your laugh is infectious. So I'm just curious, like, what pieces of humor and wit How does it play a role in your world?
Yeah. I like the idea of wit being levity or bringing light and brightness to a room. I like to do that. You mentioned the art aspect. I'm wearing a colorful shirt today, but I love to wear either colorful tops or patterned pants, or just some of the ways that I bring a little joy or lightness into my day. If you see me, I usually have a patterned water bottle or just different elements of visual ways to remind myself of brightness, lightness, um, the beauty in the world around us, and almost the humor and in the beauty in the world around us. And I find if you have those little reminders throughout your day, it helps you not take things too seriously and keep things in perspective.
Mhm.
It probably helps you lead in a different way too, Amber, right? Because like you're coming with such a positive attitude and atmosphere, and those that are around you will inevitably, morph and absorb that as well, right?
Yeah. I think we all receive and experience the energy around us. And when people put that out, it tends to bounce back and bounce around, as well as,
Mhm.
heavy energy can bring things down, but some
Mhm.
light energy can also lift things up. And I always say the best ideas don't come when people are stressed and down. The best ideas come when you feel like you can breathe and release and you can let those ideas flow. So, how do you be the person that brings that energy into a room to make
Mhm.
sure that someone who values ideas,
Right.
bring that energy into a room so that ideas can flow.
Hmm. I love that.
Mhm.
That's great. So, kind of sticking along the same themes, Amber, we've talked about tits, we talked about wit. I would love to hear from you about, grit and how that's played a story, or whether it's adversity or something along those lines that you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, I originally when I heard like that word and was thinking about grit, my first response was, "Oh, I don't feel like I've had that much adversity," because every
Mm,
challenge just felt like something to surmount. And the first time and maybe almost the last time I allowed myself to fully feel that way of adversity was my last internship. And so this was basically the year before I met Laura and Sarah. Um, it was my last internship, and there were political dynamics at play that I didn't understand. I was 21 years old, and there was a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication about the work I was doing, and I started questioning, like, am I not intelligent enough to overcome these challenges that are being thrown at me? Why can I not understand uh, why the project that I did and how I did it didn't land with the group? And they're saying that you missed X, Y, and Z, and we wanted A, B, and C. Um, and what I took away from that experience after reflecting on it was, one, there were politics at play. Two, at the time, I did not have anyone in my corner, and I didn't know how to identify that early
mm,
on. Um, in hindsight, I could kind of see the person that I was working for was on their way out, and they just didn't really care what was going on.
mm,
Um, and how important it is, one, to be able to stick up and advocate for yourself and not just trust that things will work out because they're quote unquote supposed to. Like they said, this is your internship, here's how it should lay out. And it didn't actually go that way. Um, and so I came into my first job with the mindset of, one, I only want to work with people who I feel want me there. And
mm,
so how do you go into a company and think about a culture that is about supporting you? But two, be really vocal from the beginning about what your strengths are, what you're looking for, and your expectations. And when people don't meet those, still stay vocal.
mm,
You're not always going to get the yeses or people meeting the expectations that you lay out for your role or for your job, but that doesn't mean that you stay silent and expect that someone's gonna just notice. You
mm,
have to stay vocal. And so those it was a good learning for me. It was painful, when you're young and early in your career, you feel like if you get knocked down that nothing's ever gonna work out again. Um, but I took that perspective of that, no, I actually have a lot of control in advocating for myself. And it doesn't mean that everything's always going to work out, but it does mean that I'm not going to stay silent
mm,
and that I'm
Mm.
going to keep advocating for myself. So that was the first experience, which made me think that, all these other experiences I kind of always approached them in that same way. But another challenge that actually took me a little while to wrestle with and come to terms with is that I was pretty substantially underpaid in my last corporate role. And when I brought all of the statistics, so I had, because of my past experience in consulting, I had benchmark data that I was constantly being given on my role, industries, how much the pay was, etc. And I brought that to the organization and was told, no, not right now. You're in line, you're in the pay band, all of these things. And then they expanded my role to be pretty much basically double the size, and only increased the pay by $10,000. And then they added someone to my team that reported to me who was making more than I was.
Oh, wow.
So then they bumped up.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Mhm.
Then they bumped up my pay by $5,000, which was still substantially under the benchmarks that I'd brought them to say. Um, when I decided to leave and go out independent on my own and leave corporate America for a lot of other reasons, because at the end of the day, money was not my bottom line reason for working. It was more that I was like, hey, I knew that these benchmarks were wrong. I was constantly being courted by headhunters to do the same job at other companies, and the pay was very different. But in a few weeks before I was going to tell them that I was leaving, we got our performance reviews. I was top marks again, and they did a company-wide benchmarking and showed you where you were. And it was kind of similar to when we were at General Mills, where they would show you your pay and say what the range was. But this was a different one where it was versus the industry. And their whole benchmark was that anyone should be between, I think it was something like 85% and 110. And my benchmarked new pay after those multiple bumps was still 82%. So they were bumping me up another like 40K was basically what they told me. But I was like, it doesn't matter, I'm leaving. But it was one of those things where I did advocate for myself. I was very vocal and was very clear about it. And then I left, and then I know who, backfilled some of my roles, and that person came in at a close to 200K higher than what I was at. And so, which I knew, I was like, if you backfill this role in the market right now, this is what the pay range is. And so when you mention pay gap and pay disparities, I think it's staying vocal, but it's also not being afraid to leave when it's not working, because there are certain things that are not. I don't think that there's anything I could have done differently in the situation to surmount kind of things that were going on. But it did just wake up my eyes to the adversity in pay and being paid fairly for the work that you're doing.
So, Amber, can I just ask, and if you don't want to share that, I'm totally fine. But when they said, "Hey, good news, we're going to pay you a lot more now," and like, was your comeback, "Thanks, I'm leaving"? Was it, "Thanks, I'm leaving, but I told you so," like 2 years ago, or how did you handle all that?
Yeah, it was
Like,
hard.
a little bit for me would have been like,
I was at that point, I was already mentally leaving.
yeah.
And so it was more of a like, thanks, I know.
Duh.
Yeah, that was more of it was just like a thanks, I know.
I feel like you're so gracious and like, I don't know, patient maybe, because I like probably am more in the lower camp of like anger and resentment and frustration and like, how dare you? And I don't know, I'm just thinking of like the era that we live in. It's like glass door, right? Like you're reviewing people or putting it on Yelp. Like this company does not treat women properly or something. I don't know. Maybe we should make a tits, wit, and grit like a glass door thing. So like exiting employees can say like, no, they weren't good to women.
Yeah.
I think it did take a while. Where I'm 2 years out, and I think that later that year when I did learn some things about like the person who came in after me. Um, that was hard, but at the same time, I think things happen for a reason, and
Sure.
I needed multiple ways to make a different decision for myself at that point in time anyway.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks, had they paid me appropriately, it actually would have been way harder to
Right.
leave.
Yep. Yeah.
And part of being able to leave was like, wow, I can change my hour structure and still make the same amount of money if I leave.
Mhm.
Um, and that allowed me to say, like, oh, I can actually control my income and I can put myself out into the market and I know what my value is and that people will pay for my experience
Mm.
and I can do it on my own terms. Had I been at a different pay
Yeah.
range and with all of the equity and stocks, it would have been a totally
Sure.
different calculus in my head. And
Mm.
so part of me is like, okay, well, that actually allowed the decision to be much easier.
Yeah.
You almost
Well,
have gratitude.
and that's the golden handcuffs, although sometimes I think the women's handcuffs are a little silver more than gold. But regardless, your point of, you know, would have been, to me, it was like an easy out of like, all right, well, you're not going to pay me. I don't want to be here. Bye.
Right.
So,
Mm.
And golden handcuffs are real. I feel
yeah.
like I talk to and I've coached people who are in those situations and um yeah, it feels free to
Okay,
not have that.
good.
Mhm. Amber, I
Mhm.
want to go back to the first story that you had talked about. You had talked about finding your voice and really leveraging your voice and really leaning in. For our listeners, and to the extent you're comfortable, can you talk a little bit about like how you learned the strength of your voice and using your voice, and for lack of a better word, what that voice sounded like? Because sometimes it sounds
Mhm.
differently in here than it comes out, and just kind of walk us through that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think this could be part of wanting to be what I thought was a woman that's likable.
Mm,
Was that I didn't want to be perceived as being difficult. And I'm also a woman of color. And so I wanted to not be invisible, but not be seen as difficult or entitled. And so, um, as a young person, I was very much not going to express my expectations or when I thought something wasn't going well. And I realized more quickly that that actually can be more harmful to me and my situation than the risk of someone thinking that I sound entitled, which I've kind of realized at this point is if that's what someone's going to take from a woman standing up and speaking up for herself, then okay, they can say that she's a bitch or she's entitled. I don't care. At least I have my voice.
Mhm.
So I think that's where it was a lot of um, self managing inside my head that was
mm,
happening that caused me to not express how I was feeling or stand up and say, I think something's wrong.
mm,
Mhm.
Um,
mhm,
and so learning that actually I think it's more learning the consequence of not doing that and that the outcome was not great, but also I didn't feel great. I would have felt better had I stood up and used my voice and the outcome was the same.
yep.
Uh, and so I think that was kind of the takeaway for me is control what you can control and you can control using your voice.
Mhm.
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 Love it. That's so
Man, that's an
powerful.
awesome statement. Okay, so you talked about women who were really important to your kind of upbringing and development. Do you now try to do that for the next generation, like to pay it forward?
I do. So I'm still in contact with many women at some of my former firms, and I still get referrals. One of my I would say like 2 skip levels below. She's at a different company and I still do coaching calls. And I've always said anyone who comes through my team that I'm not a come to my team and you're going to stay here forever and like I'm going to have a fiefdom. I was always a strong believer of that I get to have the honor of being your leader for a time period in a season in your career. And whether that season continues at the same company or another company, you can always come back and ask me questions and you can always reach out to me. And so what I've loved is throughout my career, I still have people that reach out and ask questions. I still offer to have time with any of them. And I still do that through mentorship and coaching today. And I love it. That's one of my favorite things to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know personally you're very close to your niece. I think it is. Yeah. Um, we had good role models in this because I would say Laura was, again, both of our bosses and did a good job of keeping a connection and making sure her people knew that they were her people for life. And I bet you've done the same. So it's cute.
Started there actually with you guys and being
Yeah.
able to know families. Actually, this is just a funny story because it came up recently on my Facebook memories. Was that Sarah, you had put like a well wishes on um a door for me at some point, and I still had a picture of it.
Oh,
Wow, that's fun. That's so
that's
fun.
great.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Hey everyone, quick pause from today's episode because we have something really special to share with you.
EWIL, Empowered Women in Law, is an intentional, curated experience for women in the legal profession who are looking for more than surface level networking and packed conference schedules.
We're creating space for real conversations, meaningful connection, reflection, and growth alongside incredible women who truly understand the demands of leadership in law.
So join us November 4th through the 6th of 2026 at beautiful Murrayville, Austin in Texas Hill Country.
Yeehaw! This is going to be hosted by your Tits, Wit, and Grit team, Point Northeast.
And because this experience is designed for depth, seats are intentionally limited.
If this sounds like your kind of room, join the interest list now at pointnortheast.com. Now, back to the episode.
Like,
All right. Well, now that we've got the ball really rolling here, let's talk about the oh shit moment that maybe put you on your heels. It could be personally, professionally, just as a female leader, like, oh shit, like that's a big deal. That's going to change the trajectory of the way I am or the way I look at things. So can be anywhere, but I'm curious.
yeah. So for me, this was, I'm going to do the date. It was in 2023, early 2023. My youngest son, we didn't know quite what was going on with him health wise. He was in the hospital. It was day 6 or 7 in the hospital. He still had a feeding tube. And it was already kind of predetermined, but I had to fire someone that week while he was in the hospital. So I was like doing that from a booth. And then we had a PR crisis that I had to manage. And I was sending emails on the phone. It was something that happened overnight and they needed help the next day. And for me, the oh shit moment was I haven't built a system to handle all of this. And it's not that there's a world where you should have to handle all these things, but I didn't have release valves or people in place to help me manage it. And so after all of that happened with the level of stress and the not sleeping and the complete emotional deprivation, it still took another year before I made any big decisions, but it started the cascade of asking a lot of questions and finding ways to put more supports in place. I will also say my family is amazing. My dad got on a plane and came to help me. My sister came over, then my mom was there. And none of my family lives like close to me. So they were all flying in. But I knew that that wasn't the structure that was going to be sustainable. I had to figure out a structure with work and I had to figure out a structure with home that could help me have release valves when I needed them. And so that was the first time where I felt like my tank went to overflow because up until that point, yes, there were very stressful times, but I always could figure out a solution. That was the first time that I felt like, no, there's no solution that sits with just Amber on this.
Yeah.
I've got to put more in place.
So would you say, Amber, you built your village or you built your tribe or, I mean,
the start was to build a village, and a couple things happened just tactfully for my son. We had to move to having a nanny versus daycare because he was getting too sick in
Mm.
daycare. So by having a nanny, though, that gave us a different flexibility from a childcare perspective. We again, this was because I was working a lot full time and I was still traveling at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. We had a house manager that ended up coming in, and she was
Okay.
really great with my other son. I had talked very honestly with my husband, who was up until that point not doing a lot extra from a house perspective and managing the family. And I was like, that has to change. Like, there is absolutely no way that I can manage our family and do all of this stuff with work. And also that summer that we did a big merger and acquisition from a company perspective, just throw it in there. And so there was just a lot going on. So it was constructing more of a support village at first. And then and that was more of a blocking and tackling
Mhm.
solution that
Yep.
I put in place. But then by that December, it was okay, but what actually makes me happy?
Mm.
And um, I deserve to have a spark and to have a passion. And that I could feel that was not where I wanted it to be personally. And so by that December, I said, okay, but what would life look like? And I was working with a coach at the time who also pushed me to do those things. Um, and so that helped me get to a place of, okay, from a career standpoint as well, what will
Mhm.
it look like?
Mhm. Did you ever feel like, "Oh, come on, Amber, just suck it up. You can handle it all." Like, did you have any of those, because I think
Yeah.
for some, whether you're a mom or not a mom, all that on top, like, yeah, did you feel like it kind of failed because I couldn't handle it all?
Yeah, there was a moment, probably that summer where I was like, okay, there's gotta be a cheat code to this, right? Like, there's gotta be something I'm missing that would make this all work and make sense.
Mm.
And I talked to several friends and I started reflecting and talked to some people that were a little bit older and realized if I'm not happy, then what's it all for? Like,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
I keep going, because the external view of it all, and when I would talk to friends or to my boss, like, no one felt like I was struggling. It was all, a lot of it was internally held. The
Okay.
pressure and the feeling like this isn't working wasn't necessarily the result of my team was happy, my job was happy. My kids were doing well enough for like even
Yeah.
the one like they were doing well. And so I would say there was an element of like, yes, this is working and this is having it all, but this feels pretty miserable. Um, and there were days where I would say things like, oh, today didn't suck. I was like, well, that's not what I want.
Right. Yeah.
Bar.
That's a low bar.
That's a low bar, and when I would say, like, that the day really did kinda suck, it was because I was completely depleted energy-wise.
Mm.
It wasn't necessarily that something really bad happened, it was that my tank was below 0,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't wanna do that again the next day,
Mm. Yeah.
and
Right.
so by December, I realized that's my new bar. I've gotta redefine what it feels for me to be successful, because I can check all these boxes and say that all of these balls are balanced when, 1, it doesn't feel like they're all balanced, and 2, I'm at the end of the day just completely depleted,
Yeah.
and I think that there's a better way to live life.
Yeah.
I feel like when I've gotten to that point, I don't know if this is true for you, but I became really resentful of everybody around me, my husband, my coworkers, my it's almost like what you said earlier, which was you all should be noticing that I'm holding all these balls in the air and doing the juggling, and you should be noticing and helping me. And it was that switch for me of like, wait, I guess I'm my own advocate and I actually have to say, stop,
Mhm.
So,
everybody, I'm not
Yep.
doing that, or
Yep.
yes,
Yeah.
and I
yeah.
think, Laura, what you said earlier of the being able to say timeout because I at least felt like, well, I should be carrying it all somehow. Like that
Mhm.
this ball juggling state of complete exhaustion was just like the price of being in this role and saying that I want to be a working mom and this is just what you've got. Like, this is what comes with the territory type
Yep.
thing.
Mhm.
And being able to step back and say that that doesn't feel like failure, to say that, no, I just don't want to opt into that model anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And deciding that that's not failure, that's a choice.
Yeah. I think that's amazing, Amber. And I think we should like stop the recording now and just let people ponder that because I think your thing of like opting in,
Yep.
you get to choose. You don't have to. And I think for so many times, again, I'm just going to say as women, we feel like we have to take it on. We have to throw the garbage. We have to take care of the kid. We have to. Part of it is might be a little control freaks that we are. Maybe just gonna throw it out there. But I think opting in to do it all the time,
Yep.
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking the cycle, right? Because a lot of
For
us were
sure.
raised that way, right?
Yeah,
So understanding that just because that's the narrative that we were brought up according to doesn't mean we have to follow that same narrative in our own lives, and starting to change that generational narrative so that our kids, our daughters, our sons grow up with a different thought process of choice.
for sure. For sure. Okay,
Mhm.
I got two more shits to get to. What how about that?
Yeah.
Uh what's what's your no shit, Amber? Like, I'm not either putting up with it, I'm not gonna stand for it. It's kinda like no shit.
Challenging my intelligence. So,
Mm.
when
Ooh.
people are condescending, that is a like, no go. We've got to stop this right now. Call it out.
Do you find that certain people, like, I mean, has it been personal, professional, men, women? I'm just curious, like, who has made you feel like they were questioning your acumen or
Yeah,
knowledge?
well, it's interesting. It's happened more usually with men. Actually, I would say exclusively all of the examples I'm now thinking of are with men. And it's usually when strategic decisions that I'm outlining don't align with
Mhm.
whatever rationale that they've decided is the truth. And if I've already had the data or the perspective, I tend to just come back with, here's my opinion, and that's enough. Like, I stop defending because
Mm.
there's once someone goes into the territory of, I've had someone ask, like, where did you go to school? Um, which to me
Yeah.
is a down type of comment as well. Um, is this is my opinion. If you want to have this discussion further, we can have it at another time. But
Mhm.
I usually shut down the, like, debating back and forth because at that point, they're just trying to win, usually, a battle, and that's not really a helpful, constructive.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's almost a little bit of a tactic to like get their own kind of what they want to happen. And it's like, let me undermine the other opinion so that I can,
Sure.
yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
I'm sorry
Wow.
you've gone through that. That's awful.
Yeah.
Does mansplaining come to mind when we talk about this? Like that term?
Mansplaining,
Okay.
yes. The
Mhm.
it I think that it's one of those ones that I find interesting because, with the work that I would do in strategy, a lot of times I was around bankers and, investment professionals who don't usually have a lot of context around consumer products, but
Right.
they're making these decisions, and so I'm used to not getting in what I've seen other people get into is a pissing match, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, there's no reason for me to play that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I watch enough men do it with each other in those contexts that I'm just like, I I choose not to play that.
Yeah.
Smart. Again,
Mhm.
back to opting out. I'm learning opting out, in, out. It's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, Amber, tell us about some good shit. Like professionally, as you reflect back on your career, good shit, good moments, as well as personally.
So one of the best ones, I would say, when I was coming out of the haze of not finding a lot of fun, I took a wheel throwing pottery class, and it was the first time that I had really done any art in, I want to say, close to 10 years. I
Mhm.
did a little bit of drawing, so background mostly a business, but was an art minor. And for over a decade, didn't really do any art. And so did a pottery class at the encouragement of my executive coach. She said, like, when was the last time you felt really free? And I told her art. And she's like, well, I'm going to challenge you to go take an art class. And so I found this pottery class and just like went and did it on a Saturday afternoon. And felt the biggest sense of just relief and joy at
Mm.
this tiny little pot.
Oh.
But realizing and reconnecting with like what for me felt like release and refreshing and creativity. And it started me on a journey of doing a lot more art. And so I would say the like good shit moment for me was in 2024. I had my own art gallery. So I rented out a space, designed it all, had the lighting, um, advertised it, ended up getting picked up in our local newspaper. Um, and I got to host my artwork showcased for 2 nights. And it was just a really strong reflection for me of this idea of redefining success and who I am. And for a long time, partly because I was an art minor, I didn't feel like I was a real artist and looked to others to define if my art was good enough. And so I was just never a person that would showcase my art because I was like, I wasn't an art major and I wasn't doing all of these other things. Um, and professionally and intelligence, I was like, yes, but art, am I, going to throw myself out there? And art is such an expression of your soul. So you put it out there
Mhm.
for literally other people to enjoy, but also to judge. So it was just a really proud moment for me to say, like, yes, world, like it or not, I'm going to put this art out there and hope some people like it. And if other people don't, that's fine. But at least it's out there and it's an expression from me of putting beauty out into the world. Um, and so that was probably one of my most proud moments of, you know, the last few years.
And
That's
your
awesome.
book is incredible too. And is it for sale?
I'm
Not really.
technically, yes, there's a link
Okay.
on the website
Okay.
from my
Well,
house.
maybe we can add the link. Yeah, we can add the link in our show notes. But it's called "The Faces I Know," right?
Yes.
"The Faces I Know" by Amber Murayi. It's beautiful and really a strong statement of the kind of characters that you love and that love you. Really neat. You're a talent, dear.
Oh,
Mm.
thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're setting up some amazing examples for the future generations. You really are. Very, very cool. That's some good shit, Amber.
Mhm.
That's some really good shit. Absolutely. So, Amber, one of the things we love to do with our guests is at the end, we love to just kind of do a lightning round. So, some fun filled questions.
Okay.
And you can share with us what comes top of mind. No judgment. We just love to do this. So, okay with you?
Okay.
All right. So, the first one is, what is your favorite book that really helped shape you?
Favorite book?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, for me, it's the Bible. So that's what so my grandmother passed away earlier this year. She's 95.
I'm so sorry.
And she had to leave school after 3rd grade to take care of her siblings. But always had different key Bible verses that she would say over us. And so um and I remember going to Bethel Church in Leary, Georgia with her, which is like this tiny, one
Mhm.
room church with pews. And it's been a grounding force of resilience for me and for our family of, as hard as life gets, there are stories about how you can always overcome and you can always look for God and the beauty around you.
Mhm.
I love that. Oh,
That's beautiful.
that is.
Mhm.
That's really beautiful. You
What
definitely
was
a
your
bright,
grandma's name, Amber?
mm,
Rosa May.
definitely a bright light in the world, my friend.
Mhm.
So, all right. What is a mantra or phrase that you live by, or a Bible verse?
It's pick your heart.
Mm.
Ooh,
Yep.
So life there things are always going to be hard and challenging, but it's in the vein of control the controllable. You can pick your hard. You can opt in to the areas and the things that you want to do. And also, everything is going to be hard. So there is no pick your easy.
Yeah.
um, but because things are hard, choosing ones that light your fire and that you can be passionate about, that you can feel really good about fighting for, those are the ones that are worth choosing. And if you don't feel that way, don't fall into the path of thinking, well, this is just what it is. There is a world where you have agency in the hard that you're living. And even when you don't, so like my son's illness, that's not a hard that I'm picking, but how I approach it and how I advocate for him. And even when I can control the doctors or I can control the environments he's in, that he has to go through things that are really hard. What can I control about this? And so really focusing on those pieces helps me navigate even when things are hard.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that reminder. That's really good. So what's one thing then, Amber, that reliably grounds you when things get heavy?
Nature. I love being able to look at the background. So my favorite color is green. And the fun fact about green is it has the highest variety of any color in the natural world. So fun fact. But I love even sometimes just looking around outside and seeing how many shades of green I can find.
I love it. So Sarah's backdrop
That's
is
cool.
perfect for you.
I know. I not only have green trees around me, but I'm wearing green today. I didn't even know that was your favorite color. So
Green is my favorite color. And you can see it everywhere. All you have to do is go outside and then you can like ground yourself with it. So I don't know if that's exactly what you were asking, but that's
perfect. It's exactly what we were asking. That's fantastic. And actually, I'm wearing green. And Laura, at least from here, it looks like your necklace has green on it. So, I mean,
little
you can
tinge
see
of green. Yes.
I wear these two green necklaces. This one's from my sister and that one's from my husband. But
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, two more, my friend. What is one thing very few people know about you?
Well, if you know me long enough, you'll probably figure it out, but I love music theater.
Oh,
It just doesn't come up in conversation as much anymore.
love that.
If you're around me when like Hamilton, I listened to a lot of Hamilton this weekend.
It's fantastic.
that's fun and very relevant on the celebration of the country's birthday.
Yeah.
I love music theater. Was in show choir, was in music theater as a high school student. Like, love to go to the local high school's productions. Love it all.
That's really great. Hamilton's a favorite in our household too. So, yeah, that's great. That's great. All right, last one, my friend. What is your happy hour drink of choice?
Ooh, sparkling rosé.
Ooh. Do you have a favorite brand or?
No, I just go with whatever. Usually restaurants only have one, so it's whatever they have.
Got it.
That was a pretty quick answer,
That
too.
Well,
was.
it's summer, like sparkling rosé. It's not really in the winter. I don't get it as much, but
Yeah.
in the summer, I'm like, if they've got a sparkling rosé,
It's
sold.
your jam. Good to know. Love it. We're going to have to find some.
Yes.
Yes.
It's got like the pink color and works in a glass. It screams summer to me.
That's
For sure. For sure.
Right?
That's so fun. Amber, it's been fun sharing time with you.
Yes, this has been awesome. It's been great to reflect on so many things. Tits, wit, and grit. Oh, it's such a fun way of celebrating being a woman and also acknowledging, the celebratory aspects and the challenges and the bits about navigating it all. And so I've had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for being on. That's it for today's episode of Tits, Wit, and Grit, where bold women, big ideas, and a little bit of fearless attitude collide.
If today's conversation sparked something for you, share it with someone who needs it. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next.
Remember, show up with confidence, trust your wit, and never underestimate the power of grit. See you next time.